Hey everyone, happy Friday. It's another Mavens of Manufacturing day today. We are on episode 112, which is completely mind-boggling to me because it feels like I started this yesterday. But I'm really super excited because we have Claudia Contreras, who's the Director of Manufacturing Operations at the Scotts Miracle-Gro Company. Hello, Claudia. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing very well and excited to be here.
I am too. Thank you for joining me. And to anyone who's listening in, feel free to drop comments in the comment section or questions because I like pulling everybody in and having them part of the conversation as well. But Claudia, to start off with you, can you let us know like how you got into this wonderful sector of manufacturing and engineering? Because a lot of women that I've talked to felt they said they fell into it by accident, and some did it on purpose because they had like a family member into it. But what's your story? How did you get involved with it?
So, with manufacturing, I think I always been fascinated about how things are made. So, I love seeing something from beginning and how it can be transformed into something completely different, or has a finished purpose and then like a finished good purpose. Like it's very fascinating to me. But I did have my grandpa was an engineer, so
Okay.
I always learn. But since I was very young, I was very interested in STEM. I love science. I love math. I love, everything that was related to chemistry. I had very good teachers, very amazing professors in those areas. And I think they always gave me the inspiration of, hey, what's out there? Like, especially chemistry. I was fascinated about how one thing with another makes something completely different. And, that's how I got into process. And then after my bachelor's in chemical engineering, my internship was actually in a textile company, and I had a complete different idea of what that was going to look like. And it has a lot of processes. It's very complex, just getting the color you want in a jeans. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of processes. And engineering, you wouldn't believe it, but it's very interesting. So I think that's how I got into it. And then I just fell in love in, having something from scratch and transforming it into something completely different.
I think textiles is a really interesting space too. I talked to a woman here who's in that um, industry, and what's interesting, she said there's not very many textile manufacturers here within the United States. Like they all moved overseas, and she just was like, you have to have good materials for really bad environments. So doesn't need to be fireproof, doesn't need to be waterproof. And she's like, there's just a lot of planning and design. And she's like, and sometimes materials aren't like the easiest to work with, so it's really hard to like put them together so that they're form fitting, especially if like you're trying to design something for different sizes and shapes. She's like, because we're not all built the same. So I just thought it was really interesting to hear like how much actually goes
Yeah,
into
I was in an
design
engineering
like that.
department there. It was
That's really
engineering
cool.
and special laundry effects. That was the department I had my internship with, and
That
it's
is
like
super cool.
it's very interesting. No, when you think textile is completely different to what
Yeah.
people might say. Yeah, and unless you actually witness that, it's very hard to explain as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So then how did you end up with Scott's Miracle-Gro? Because like when I think Miracle-Gro, immediately my brain goes to gardening, and Lord knows I'm not a good gardener at all. Like I that's something I'm going to be working on. But how did you end up with them, and what is some of the things that they do as a company, but as well as what are you doing in your position?
So I ended up with Scotts Miracle-Gro, and I started to work in the engineering department in our facility here in Temecula. So my
Okay.
prior roles after the textile company, I work in a chemical company, and then I work in electronics and in injection molding for electronics and final assembly. And then the factory that I'm in, it's a injection molding facility. But Scott's, like the way that we like to say it is, we are basically in the business of growing things, right? We love growing, and we have many plants that they specialize in different areas. Our plant here in Temecula is specifically for injection molding. So every
Okay.
spreader that you see in the any stores, in any Lowe's, in any Home Depot, they are actually manufactured here for Scotts here in Temecula, California. So it's an injection molding facility, but we also do all the sprayers, we do caps, and right now we also brought the capability for LED lighting assembly.
Oh, very cool. So then at your facilities, how has the whole like are you like, do you have automated systems and processes in place at your facility? And how was that like getting started and
So
integrated into your processes?
so we have a lot of injection molding. So we actually have 60 injection molding machines from 70 to 150 to 1,500 tons capacity. And
Wow.
we do have assembly lines. So we have about 10 different assembly lines, and a lot of them are either semi-automated, and we have some, and we have integrated, I would say probably in the last 3 years, a lot of automated systems. So we do have robots, and we are working in some major other projects where are going to be completely, like one of them is going to be, just for reference, 13 robots assembly lines. So right
That's
now we
super
have a
cool.
few that have up to five, or one single robot. We have tool shot technology. But yes, we are very very focused on flow systems. So we are continuous flow. All of our assembly is continuous flow. And we have engineering capability here. We have a quality department, a very very technical people in tooling. So we do have a tool room. Like I mentioned, we can build some of our molds, and we also import the bigger sizes. But we have very very capable team members from the technical and maintenance side, and we have a great team here. So it's very exciting because, like you said, people will think in lawn gardening, and then they say our facility, and it completely throws them off because it's a complete different area of the business. But yes, we provide our sprayers, and a lot of other caps for different of our products that help grow in other areas.
That's awesome. So, what does a day in the life look like for you as director of manufacturing operations? Because I've checked out your LinkedIn profile, and for anyone who's tuning in, if you're not connected with her, make sure to go to Claudia's LinkedIn profile because you have a fantastic resume. Like, you have a doctorate, you've worked in several different countries, you worked at several different companies, and you're leading hundreds of people, right? Like your team is more than how many
Yes.
hundred?
So right now
So
we are about 350 this season. We were a little bit more during COVID time, but yes, that's our facility around that at peak time, and yeah, that's what we run.
that's awesome. So what do you do as director of manufacturing operations? Like what are some of your responsibilities?
So it's very dynamic, and that's one of the things that I enjoy about the role. Like if you see it from the responsibilities perspective, I'm responsible for the P&L of the site, right? We are really responsible for our own safety, quality, and then we have a great support at corporate. But we're here, and each of their plants have great leaders that take care of running the operation. So they run the day to day, but they also take care of the strategic, and what projects we want to do, how we want to optimize, what is coming in the pipeline. So I do manage the capex for the site, in collaboration, with other corporate team members, and the P&L, all the finances here. And then I have a great team that also does the day to day. We have distribution capabilities, so I have a amazing, distribution manager, amazing production manager, a great office manager that oversees part of the partnership with HR, and leading our associates. But I will say in a day to day is very dynamic, because you sometimes you come with this idea, this is what I'm doing today, and these are the tasks that I'm going to tackle, and then something throws it off, right? Either equipment goes
Yeah,
down, or this happens, or hey, they are reaching out about this new project that comes up, and they want you to start looking into that. So I will say it's very exciting, and that's one of the things that I enjoy. Is that is very dynamic. But I will say, overall, my responsibility is making sure that our site is fulfilling the expectation for corporate and align on those goals, meeting our production's goal, but also thinking on the future of what's coming and how we can help our organization to optimize costs, improve any quality requirements, or just keep going and continuous improvement as well.
that's really cool. So the other thing that I wanted to touch on is you were recently listed on SourceDay's 2023 Women in Manufacturing list, which they had a lot of really great names on there, but you kind of had a special feature with some quotes and stuff. And one of your nominators actually stated how you hold yourself and others to the highest of standards, all while successfully developing a culture where everyone feels heard, recognized, and inspired to work as one team towards a common goal. And I just thought that was really interesting because I feel like that's kind of what we need to do a lot of and start promoting more, especially with younger generations, because working with a team that values their values is really important to them, and they're doing their research. Like, I was very taken back on how much, like, my daughter does research on where she's going to work and what she wants to do, because initially I just assumed that they were just on their phone taking pictures for like Instagram and all that stuff, but they're actually doing research. So I completely misjudged them. So my question to you is, how do you develop like a work culture of trust, inspiration, and collaboration where everyone brings their best selves to work and enjoy what they actually do? Because I've heard stories too, and I've actually been part of companies too, where people just didn't like it. They didn't like working there, and it was like really depressing. So how do you bring everyone together to really bring their best selves to work?
I will say I'm very open and approachable, but one of the things that I consider I do well is trying to listen on what motivates our associates. And they're all in a different place. And you have those associates like, your daughter, my son is the same. He questions everything, everything. Like he needs a reason and he questions everything. But it's we have those two, right? We have associates that question everything and they want to understand why are we making this business decision. And some others
Yeah.
they just need the drive or the push to go something else, and that we are all in different stages in our life, right, or in a different place, right? So I will say that probably understanding where everyone is and trying to translate that into a goal and how work falls into that, like who you are and how our work falls into you, and motivate them. For example, we might have associates who, all they want is to learn a different area of the business, right? They don't want to pursue a college degree, or they want just to learn other things and hands-on, and that's great. So how we bring that motivation that they have and that drive into a task or in a project that they can materialize that inspiration. But I will say I also have developed a lot of good leaders, and we have pretty good leadership on the end that, just as I try to inspire the people who report to me, they are doing the same. They are trying to inspire others and trying to learn about them and see what it is. There is nothing that I honestly enjoy more than a great discussion or a great conversation with our associates. I want to learn about their families, their grandkids, their struggles, and having that opportunity. And I also share mine, right? Sometimes some
Yeah.
of the best advices that I have received, whether believe it or not, for my career or even my personal life, have come from people here in the facility. We have great grandmas and great mothers and grandparents, and like they have great advice, but some of them, their motivation is just, hey, getting their kid through college, and how we translate that into what they do every day. But we truly believe in the wanting one goal. I know it might sound as a cliche and it's a big thing that corporate pushes, but in our side, we any project that comes to materialization, like we are all together, right? Quality does their best to support the way that they can, engineering the same, production the same, and we try to translate that. If someone needs department helping a different department that is not theirs, believe me, there is no one that won't go into that. Even if they are not the strongest in that area, they'll always be willing to help, even if it's not part of their job description or their role or responsibilities. I think we all strongly feel that as a team, we want to support each other, but not only in the goals as an organization, but also in our personal lives.
That's really cool. And I see that a lot now too. There's a shift happening where people are actually, even in different companies and different industries, people are really connecting with other people and raising each other up and supporting and collaborating rather than competing. And I think that makes a big difference. And before I go on to my next question, I do want to bring in some comments. We have Penny here. Hi, Penny. Thanks for joining us. Aaron, who I believe is the gentleman that got us connected. So, Aaron, thank you for this. I really appreciate that. And then we have Leah, who's saying awesome. And then Marco is saying you're the best leader that he's had in his career. Hashtag admire. So that's such a compliment too. Like when you have your employees like call you out, or your colleagues call you out and say how great of a leader you are. I think that's just a testament in its own. And then we have Courtney. They demand proof. She's talking about the next generation. Courtney's part of Automation Ladies. So if you're not familiar with that podcast, go check it out. But you did talk about how you've helped develop like a team of leaders. And one of the interesting things that caught my ears when we last talked is you have several women in senior leadership positions. And, Mavens was the platform that I built to help inspire more women to try engineering and manufacturing out. And I just wanted to ask you a few questions on that. First, like, what sort of advantages or benefits does that provide Scotts as a company? Like, why is it so important for you yourself to support other women in leadership positions? Like, what do they bring to the table?
So for sure, a different perspective, right? We bring creativity and we bring so much just from the professional standpoint. But I think it's important to inspire the future generation. So if I'm very honest, I remember I went to one of my first supply chain conference for Scott's. I believe it was close to 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember, and I have embedded it still in my mind, one of the presentations by Kim Berry. She's now our VP for customer experience. Back then she was in a different role, but she did like this. I was in awe on that presentation, and she was one of the only female who spoke. But like, just I believe it was one of the best presentations that I have ever seen in my life. And it just inspired me into saying, hey, I can do that. But also, it's important to share, some of the struggles. In many cases, I'm still the only woman on the table. Whether it's a project, whether it's vendor meeting, like, I'm still used to that. So we need to still represent so that we can bring those different ideas into projects to diversify, opinions. Sometimes there is great people that have great ideas, and you are the one that is adding that cherry on the top that makes it even greater. But we
Mhm.
have to have that platform, and I think that is important, and that's also good from the perspective knowing that we have VPs and above, like, senior vice president that are female, and you can get there to inspire others that are coming, because it's hard when you don't see yourself represented in other areas.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you kind of name some specific things that you do to support not just women leadership at Scotts, but also like leadership for anyone? Like, what are some of the, like you mentioned before that there's support behind like some certification programs and stuff, but can you get into a little bit more detail on how you sit down with an employee who might be starting, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but like at the bottom or the lowest position, and how you kind of guide them to grow in their career? Like, do you have some sort of program for that to develop new leaders and move them up the ladder?
Yes, so definitely we are very intentional here, and it's something that I feel like we have grew very strong in our facility, is at creating a development plan. What that means, and it basically starts with that question, right? What do you want? Where you are right now? And also giving them some perspective. Some of the associates that I have worked with at the beginning, they never thought they could get into a higher level leadership position. When I initially talked to them, or they didn't think that it was in their plans to complete their bachelor's and get to the next level in their career. So I think it's opening their mind and showing them the options as well. So we are very intentional in having, okay, your development plan. And there is other people who have, like, a great bachelor's, a great career, and they're already there, but they want to learn more about the business. So like, if we have a person who's very strong in engineering, but they don't have that knowledge in finance, that's something that we will put to them. And there is others where, like I said, especially here in California, we start at the basic. We have people who are inspired to get the English as a second language, and that's where they started, right? And now they're inspired to get more and more. We try to enroll them and take advantage of anything that is offered, either by the state or the community. So our team just completed an amazing with a Mount San Jacinto College program, that is funded through the state. And we have several associates, more than 30, who participated in that, and it was a root cause analysis and work team building activity. And it was on the college setting, and some of them was their first experience, and they are really grateful for being exposed to that. But I will say it starts with understanding where everyone is, what they want. And sometimes they just don't see it that way. They don't really think like they can go to the next level until you give them that motivation. And sometimes you have to share your perspective and what you have been through, because it's never easy, but you
Yeah.
can accomplish it. And for some of them, their kids are their motivation. For some of them, is like, no, I want to have a better life than what I am right now. And trying to start from where they are and what's the motivation to get them. And some of them, like I said, are very technical and very capable, and they just need someone to tell them that. Some of them I have met,
Yeah.
believe it or not, I have met a lot of associates who don't even realize the huge capability that they have.
Yeah.
Like in that. So I try to motivate that, and also for people who to do the same thing, right? Hey, I always say, like, how is this person doing? What to my like, hey, what do you see as the end of the opportunities, and what they can continue growing in, so that they can move to the next level. And I have had other people, we have a long tenure here. One of our amazing associates, a couple of them actually have been with the company more than 40 years, and they still want to learn, right? They still want to bring to the table with, and they are one of the some of that are more excited about, going to a new course and learning new
Yeah.
things. And I have also some that, 10 years ago, they said, like, hey, I wish I had known you before, and I actually believe that I could do that 5 years ago, or many years ago. But they're doing it now, and it's never late. Some of them have grandkids that are graduating too while they are attending a college course, and that's fine.
That's awesome.
Or
I
they're
think
learning a new skill. Yeah.
I think that's really cool that you're doing that, and I want to pull in some of these comments because it's kind of it's a segue into my next question that I have for you. But we have um, Damari. Is that how you spell your name, Demarius? Demarius. But she said Claudia truly cares for us, and she sets a great example. It drives us to aim always higher with excellence. Best boss ever. That's awesome. I love comments like that. And then true leaders develop more leaders. And then Leah, yes, sometimes all people need is one person to
That's
believe in
true.
them, which is really, empowering. So that leads me to my next question. Why is empowering so important when it comes to team development? Like, I have my own opinions, but I want to hear, like, why is that important for you to instill that confidence in employees? Like, what does it do when you empower someone with their work life? How does it change how they're productive they are, how like they view work? Why is it so important?
I would say that is definitely important because, first of all, you get to be better overall as a team, right? When you empower someone to make decisions, and they have different perspective, they have different experience. So, their opinion might be completely different to yours, but it's still as valuable. And, together, when you merge those, it might be the I honestly think sometimes I come with this idea and I hear others and I'm like, oh, and then we come up, like yesterday just happened. We were having a great discussion with our office manager about an event that we were having, and our engineering team was there, and we came up like brainstorming, and now we have this amazing idea, just from sharing. But I will say, like, they need to be empowered to make decisions, and also to sometimes make mistakes, right? They need to try, like, to learn that. So, like, hey, I really want to try that, and they need to go through that learning experience, whether it comes out perfect, or so, or it doesn't work, but they need to go through that experience. So I would say, like, I'm a person that always tries to motivate and encourage others to motivate and say, yes, give it a try. I'll approve that. Let's go for that, and let's try and see what comes up, though, because you have to start somewhere. And
Yeah.
like, we have people, like, at the beginning we didn't have any robots, and sometimes it can be daunting, right, when you don't have completely fully, but we have to develop. But we also want to kind of set our goals and start learning today where we want to be in 5 years, right? So it's not always immediate reward. Sometimes you need to start, like, building that team, and that's how we have been doing it, right? You start somewhere, you keep developing, and that goes to the persons as well. Some of them need to start leading a line. And we just recently promoted our production supervisor, who started here as a temporary operator, and has a great background, and kind of started online, learned the lines, and then kept growing. And she's an amazing leader and has been doing outstanding. But she had to start somewhere, and also had a great manager who kept helping her in that process to say, like, okay, now you take this, now you are in charge of this, now you're in charge of all the shifts and all the
Yeah.
production. So
That's
I
really
would
cool.
say, yeah, empowering to make decisions, and also um, uh, just giving them that opportunity to make mistakes, or to try new things.
I think that's a big one too, where you provide a space where that they know if they fail or make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Just taking a step back and saying, okay, what didn't work and how can we fix this and move forward? I think that's a great way of learning. And just because I've worked with some companies where, like, people were afraid to fail because they thought they were going to get terminated or something, and it just creates all this unnecessary anxiety. So that's great that you're supporting your team and having conversations with them. In terms of like workforce development as a whole, a lot of companies are struggling to find skilled talent, and there's a lot of discussion and debate, and I'm just like, be proactive, get in front of the next generation while you're also nurturing the current generations and letting them know that you haven't forgot about them. But what are some of the things that Scotts is doing to sort of bring awareness to that next generation about the opportunities you offer, and how are you attracting them to the opportunities that you have within your facility?
So to start, we are having, when we recognize that someone wants more, like even it's an operator, we start giving them different tasks and work in different departments to get their perspective. But we just hire several associates from what you will call the new generation, right? We have a few 19 years old, early 20s, and they started basically when they walked through the door, they didn't know what to expect. And then they fell in love with the process. They fell in love in a specific area of the business, whether that was tooling or planning. And now they are some of our best performing associates. But I will say that one thing that we realized during COVID is that manufacturing had been behind for a while, and then COVID brought this new spark where you said like, hey, you have to manage, you have to have that available domestically here in the US. And I know all of our technical roles, we couldn't fill those roles when we needed them the
Mhm.
most. So one of the things that we started creating was we like to call it like a development or mentoring program, where we have someone who is a senior leader in a department, has vast of knowledge, more than 30 years of experience, right? So they are like a encyclopedia of injection molding or tooling, like, or
Yeah,
maintenance, right? And we are bringing newer generations, and we are giving them like steps. So they start in a process where it's the basic knowledge. They start with pneumatics, like some of the very basics. After they accomplish that, they can go electrical, and they can go, whatever that milestone. And the same is like, first they start with managing materials in the molding machines, then they go to setups, and then they go to the process part, right? On the thing. Yeah, so we're creating like different levels or steps, we would like to call it. And HR has been very supportive of that program, because we realize like we have to get these newer generations to be involved. And we have also been partnering a lot with the schools and high schools here. So we have a really cool mini 3D printing lab, and I know that they have that at schools. And our engineer was very eager to go and teach if they need classes. And like it just gives them a fresh perspective. But we are trying to tackle within our communities the younger generations, because I think that's very important. They need to see the real life experience. When you say manufacturing, people can have a completely different mindset. And just
yeah,
like here, you have like 6, 7, like 10 different areas that you can work, from EHS to the HR side, to finance, to planning, to distribution. It's a lot, and it's all involved within manufacturing. And that's not even going through the technical side, right? When you go tooling, a metrology technician, like a lot of areas. But I will say exposing that is very important for the new generation. They need to see it. They need to
yeah,
really understand what involves. And right now we have been offering a lot of different positions, temporary associates who are either high school students that they are not sure what they want to do, and just get them involved and learn about the work part. So they come as temporary associates, and some of them convert into either specific departments. But it's been very rewarding, because like you said, sometimes we lose faith in the future generation, but no, they're actually pretty brilliant.
yeah.
They just have to, some of them have never been exposed to any of
Right.
this.
Well, and I don't think it's just the younger generations. I think there's still like misconceptions with some of the current generations as to, because I know women who have like completely changed their career path at like 50 years old because they were just so fed up with what they were doing, and they were like, yeah, my biggest regret is not knowing that there's opportunities available for me, because when I was in high school, this wasn't pushed on to me, like other things were pushed onto me, like teaching or nursing or whatever. So I'm curious to know like your opinions or insights on, as as a whole in our sector, like what should businesses be doing better of, or where can they start to kind of educate the communities they're in, because I feel like there is some disconnect there with manufacturing companies and the schools and the teachers, and because there's a lot of things happening right now. We're not getting the skilled talent. Teachers are in shortage, and even the teachers that are there, they didn't grow up with the technology like this generation has grown up with technology. So how do we support them in like understanding what's available? How do we connect them to the real world applications and processes? Because I feel like even kids who are involved with some of these STEM courses, they're not quite prepared entering the real job market. So what are your thoughts and opinions on that?
So I think it's a partnership. And when I say a partnership, is us as business, we want to develop and have that skill talent. So how we can help them. So I believe like a lot of our school districts here, and I'm going to speak specifically about the Temecula Valley and Murrieta Valley Unified School Districts, they have done an outstanding job. And I was genuinely impressed about how they are trying to incorporate this new mindset in their new generation. So what they are doing is actually, we are part of the Southwest Manufacturing Council, so Scott's our
Okay.
plant is, and we meet with other manufacturers and we gave them tips on what we need them to come out with. So in order for them to be able to be employable, and be able to get a job, what are some of the basics they need to check, right? And
Mm,
we help them like, hey, this certification is great. Learn about this other, like safety, OSHA, like a lot of different things, and they are incorporating that into the curriculum. And it has taken them a while, right? But right now,
yeah.
I was our engineering team and myself, we were just invited to one of the high school projects as judges in some of the, it was actually projects, so they were assigned a project and they had to do it from scratch, understanding the marketing, developing, and then doing a demo and trying to sell it. Oh my god, I was
That's awesome.
wow. A new, it's led actually by one by Blasky. She's one of the teachers there in Samaria, and I was just in awe about what they were doing, right? Like I did not have that opportunity at all when I was that age. Not at all, not even close, not even college. I think like we're
Yeah.
so serious where they actually brought like some, business
Yeah.
people to actually judge them and provide them feedback. And we had great people who had worked in aerospace there, who had worked in different areas of the business, and they were able to provide them feedback. But they were challenged with that and they could do it. And those are 17 years old, and it was very, very impressive what they accomplished. They had these awesome projects that I was like, oh, I will totally buy that if you get into,
Yeah.
like, and it was very impressive. But I think it's a partnership. But I think schools, at least in this area, are working very hard to bring that back, bring that excitement about manufacturing. But we also, as businesses, have to support. So, whenever they reach out
Yeah.
about, hey, can we have the high school tour? Like, we always say yes, because we are true believers in growing good and like, just showing that sparkle. You never know how many of those are going to be your next, engineer that are changing something, or the next tooling master, or the next, super awesome technician. You don't know if you don't give them that opportunity. But I will
Yeah.
encourage other businesses to do the same, to open their doors to the younger generations. And we're actually planning in the next year to have an either middle school tour. So that's like, it's going
That's
down where
awesome.
you can get them inspired from beginning. Like, kids have creativity since 5 years old, and like,
Yeah.
like, that's when they do the Legos and all those things. So how we translate that into real life is the most important part. But we
Yeah.
have to be available for that too. Like, we have to show that's important for us manufacturers or businesses as well,
Yeah.
to support the community in that end and partner with the schools.
Well, and I think the thing is like with kids, they want to have these conversations, but they might not know what questions to ask. So we kind of just have to talk to them and listen. And for you yourself to like go there and be a judge, I think the other thing is too is like we need more individuals in leadership positions talking as well too, because not every single leader started off in a CEO position or a VP position. Like some of them I know swept the shop floor. They dropped out of high school and then they moved themselves up the ladder. So there's a piece of the pie for everyone, I think. But I sometimes I feel like some leaders get so caught up in their everyday, like day-to-day work opportunities and responsibilities that they forget that what they went through is really important for these kids to see. So they should spend some time themselves talking to kids as well too. But that's just my opinion. I know a
I
lot of
agree. You
people.
have to be available. And like I say, if someone reaches out, like, take it. You will actually
Yeah.
be genuinely surprised. So when they reach out after COVID, say like, hey, we want to do this tour, like, everyone here was so excited, and we had such a great experience, because when you hear someone talk about what they do in their own perspective, even if you know the whole thing, right? Even I was like, oh, I get excited. I want to do a job now. Like, like
Yeah.
it's very, very exciting. And we have very passionate people, and the majority of people take a lot of pride in what they do, and they need to transmit that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what I mean. Kids are looking for superheroes in their lives. Like some kids they got it really bad. They do. They have it really bad. And a lot of individuals that I know in this sector, like it saved them. Like they went through really hard times. They found like either welding or CNC machining, and they fell in love with it, and it saved them. And now they're telling other kids about it. Andrew Crow is one that comes to mind. He came to the high school that I graduated from, and he had the kids in tears because they were on the same path that he went through, where they think the only path they have is like a life of crime, drugs, gangs, whatever. And he was like, no, you don't have to do that. Like, there's opportunities for you that you can use your intelligence and your creativity for. And they were in tears when he talked to them. It was awesome to see. But now they have that person who believes in them, and now they want to do good. So it's just, you never know what small amount of your time will go a long way. But
Yes.
Claudia, this has been really fun, and I want to pull Edgar into the conversation real quick. He said Scotts is very blessed to have Claudia on board. Her reports value the empowerment and opportunities to grow their skills. They're at Scotts in areas of automation and lean manufacturing. She's a true believer in personal growth. That's awesome. Well,
So
thank you,
Edgar is
Edgar, for that.
one of our vendors. Yeah, that's how I know him. He's one of our vendors for some of
That's
our,
awesome.
Whitman robots.
See, and all those testimonials, like you should be proud of what you've done, because, it shows a lot about an individual when other people talk about them in a positive light. Like those are the individuals that I want to connect with, because if you can create that difference and that, positivity in other people where they're sharing your story for you, I think that shows like your character and how well you've done. So congratulations to you. Before I let you go, I do want to ask you one final question. If you had one ask for our audience, what would your ask be for them?
I will say, to women, I would like to say, like, don't be afraid to be the first one, no matter what's the platform. Like, like no matter what, don't be afraid to be the first one or the only one. It's still needed, and sometimes we have to be the first to open the door for others. So I strongly believe that. And then to business in general, like do what you can to support manufacturing, starting from the younger generation. Show yourself available and kind of share that passion and how great you are at what you do, because you never know who you will be inspiring. I truly believe that.
And that goes well with Demarius. Claudia's leadership is going to leave generational imprints. So that's awesome. Well, Claudia, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you sharing your story. For anyone who has questions about yourself or Scotts Miracle-Gro Company, where should they go and how can they get in touch with you?
So I have a LinkedIn, so I can give you the information, but it's there. I have a LinkedIn, and they can reach out to me via there. But also my email is claudia.contreras@scotts.com. So
Awesome.
simple.
Well, thank you, Claudia. Thank you to everyone who tuned in and dropped in the comments. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And next week, I am on vacation. Thank the Lord. I'm super excited about it. But we do have another episode of Mavens of Manufacturing. I'm speaking with Dr. Laura, who is in the food sustainability industry. So super excited about that, because she's going to talk about some things that they're doing within that sector in terms of food sustainability. So have a great weekend, everyone. Talk to you later. Bye. This episode of Mavens has been sponsored by Fresh Horizons Group. Fresh Horizons Group is a family-run company that was founded on the premise of helping organizations and businesses better tell their story through high-quality branded apparel and promotional items. Freshen up your brand by contacting Fresh Horizons today at freshhorizonsgroup.com.